Maybe you can go over the Integratron real briefly.
Okay, well the Integratron is, that is what I regard would be the physical manifestation of the scalar transmission. In other words, that's the device that if you have one on Mars and you have one on Earth, if you go in the one, you walk out of the other. That's, when I studied that.
Was there one of those for Lancaster?
No, there's none of them around anywhere, really. About the time I figured out how to make it all work and found that all the materials were there and the whole thing was kind of set up like a Heath kit, and I managed to get all the junk and the weirdos and everything out of there and all that, well, lo and behold, the guy that had the property lost it and everything disappeared. So, well, this thing about the Integratron is my theory. Okay, I mean, I didn't, I've never built anything where you walk in the one box and you walk out of the other one. But the thing is what I found is this Integratron structure had to be space scalar. If you analyze the electric fields that appear with it, the key to the Integratron was it had a pair of coils, 90 turns, and 1 mile of wire on the ceiling of the first floor. One went one way in copper, and the other one went the, got this right? Yeah, the other way in iron. 10 gauge copper, 14 gauge iron, soft iron wire, all insulated. Okay, and there's 4 spark gaps that were remote controllable by compressed air and plastic pipes, so you couldn't have any metal in here to short this thing out. The whole thing was charged up with 100,000 volts from the thing that spins on the outside. Electrostatic generator, and the dome is covered with metal, so that's your capacitor to space. And this thing is inside the flux underneath, and these spark gaps fire into the copper and iron, which juncture in the middle. They fire, 2 of them fire into the ends of the coil, and 2 of them fire, I forget the exact diagram, but 2 of them fire into the dome, and so it's this electrostatic energy is being pulsed into this coil. Okay, where they come together in the middle, there's kind of like a capacitor and a column. They drop things down. And what goes in there, I don't know. But when you analyze this, what it comes out to be is it's a strictly space function. There's no space variation. So what I did is I did some experiments, because Van Tels was always talking about caduceus coils. That's a coil where you got turns one way, and then compounded on it is turns the other way. And what I found is if this is coil A, I might have it wrong, but from the outside it'll look right. This is coil B. Okay, if I connect them in this way, okay, at these terminals, because this thing will resonate in an inductance capacitance oscillation, but the amount of capacitance, the amount of inductance here is all screwed up by the fact the turns are wound backwards on each other. This thing will oscillate at a frequency of roughly 100 times beyond the wavelength of the wire, and with a precision that's so intense it makes you wonder, like, what's it locked into? And somebody had tried this idea and came up with some UHF TV antennas built on this principle, and the receiving range apparently is fantastic. So this is the key to the Integratron, is to create this space scalar condition, where it exists only in time and it doesn't exist in space. And that started to give me the idea that maybe this thing wasn't for healing people, but for making people be able to go from point A to point B. And then the Alexanderson space scalar concept popped up later in my study of RCA, and so that kind of serves as again, as an analog to this space scalar situation. So if somebody wants to start experimenting with, building a transporter, it's not a matter of taking the molecules apart and making them reappear at another end. That would be a hideous project. Doesn't make any sense. The best thing to do is just simply erase space out of the formula so that you're both places at the same time, and then make the switch.